take the DMV duties of some of these employees and put them in another area? Not in
Take
the
money completely out of the assessor's office.
They're not shared, they have their own.
Yeah, whether it be in the same building or outside in another building or whatever, that's kind of what.
So it's one new employee, one new hire, full-time FTE hire, plus taking the duties of the DMV away from the appraiser's office.
Right.
To free up some more time.
Okay, so you've been here twice, you told us kind of the same thing. Wonderful information to help us out here. I really like that. We need to move forward with it. What do we need to do at this point to move forward? And what are the logistics? Because hiring one person sometimes is difficult because we don't pay them enough sometimes, or we train them and they go to Park City. How difficult is that going to be to hire that one person? And do we have the funds to pay for that?
If you get another appraiser,
We'll have the funds.
you're going to find that revenue because they'll be able to qualify more that we're missing.
So I really like the idea of getting another appraiser, just exactly like we've got it here, separate the DMV and it out of there, have it separate, and let them just manage that, because that's extremely busy now. It's almost full time, it seems like. Every time we go there, there's a line. And so what do we need to do to move forward on this?
And are you asking me?
You probably have the answer, because we've been through this twice now, so.
I'm ready to move forward with the recommendation from clerk's office.
I have a question on, his statement was to remove the DMV from that office, not to remove the it would include removing responsibility. I guess my question to the council is, do you have a place to put it?
My understanding, we had talked to you about that, and asked you to come up with a recommendation.
My recommendation was not to remove it. So I'm not prepared to comply with all that if his recommendation is to remove it.
I think, and I know you wrote that, it's here in the recommendation, but as what Davis, we've talked a lot about perhaps moving the duties of the DMV totally from the assessor's office. But that, in my mind, at least, is the best place to keep that office. Now, whether we need to change walls or whatever so that it's separated duties and they have their own people supervised by someone else, and totally remove the duties of that from the assessor's office. I think what Mr. Davis is saying is we have no other place to put it.
No, wait, let me clarify. Were you saying you don't have a physical place to put them?
Right.
Or are you saying those people should continue to do the duty?
No, my understanding was the physical place was an issue.
And their
That's what I
recommendation,
heard.
yeah, their
Am I
recommendation
wrong?
kind of here is to move it, but if it's walled off, separate office, well, then that means the same thing,
Yeah.
basically, wouldn't it?
The biggest problems are just the proximity of your customers right there in the office, and the fact that your appraisers are sometimes getting up and helping these people occasionally. The personal property person is participating in that. The data collector is participating in it. And it's interesting because I've called the office a few times and Todd, one of the appraisers, is answering the phone. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in there that could be better, the appraisers to their appraisal work. And I think it's just been a real big disruption. And I think your taxpayers are a little disgruntled as well to come in there and have to be right there with the employees moving in and out of their line, and they're probably wondering, why aren't you helping me? How come you're wandering through and going to your desk? I think
Well, they don't understand.
physical separation is the most important. In some counties, the treasurer handles it because it's a collection, they're collecting money, and so they feel that that's a good way to do it. In other counties, the manager or the assessor does manage that group, but they are in a separate office area. So if you want to have Bob continue to be the manager of those folks, you know, that's no big deal. But
It'd be nice to move it out there by the driver's license division, have it next door, because half of them come here anyhow asking.
that'd be great. Had anybody had a chance to talk to the driver's license division or find out if they might have some room?
I think the research hadn't been, somebody did.
Well, the rent would be in the $6,000 to $7,000 a month range.
That's what they want to charge you?
So, just for clarification for me, Mike, you accept the recommendation that the DMV the people who are doing the DMV work should not also be doing the appraiser work?
I'm fine to live by your decisions on this. I'm okay with it. What I have a problem with is physically moving that because I don't have a place to put them.
So if that's a solution that's done by putting in some walls or whatever, we need to what, approve you funding to make changes, put in new walls and doors? What do you need?
I can do that.
What happened in the old hospital? About that?
I don't,
Who are we talking to?
no, there's no room in the rec center.
Well, it sounds like we agree when we move, we can find a place for it.
I think we can make that area work just if we put them under different. Separate.
Not two separate doors too, because if they're closing down at 4:30.
Potential.
There's a way we can have people who should have.
I certainly hope that this does not get delayed any further because we can't figure out how to put in a wall and a door right there.
Hopefully you can at least hire the appraiser, while you work through the other stuff, because I think that's your first big step, not to get the county behind again.
Well, my question on that is, we really only have 4 appraisers right now.
County
I'm
hub.
appraising.
Pardon?
I'm appraising too.
Oh, okay, Mr. Jolly indicates in here you're not.
I've counted that there are 5 appraisers
There
plus
are
the
5
assessor.
appraisers, but I am appraising too.
My understanding is one of those appraisers has been doing Greenbelt assessment full-time.
And appraising. She does the green belt and appraising.
Okay, why is that?
So we have to have 5 then.
I want to ask that question. I had some questions about Greenbelt. Okay, so what is required for someone to handle Greenbelt? Do they need to be a licensed appraiser?
So the tax commission develops the values for that. So the appraisal function for the greenbelt value itself, or the FAA value, is not, you don't have to be an appraiser for that. So they take our values, they put them in the computer, that kind of thing. And in a lot of cases, it's easier for the appraiser out in the field as they run across these properties to, make notations and do some of that kind of thing. But as much as possible that can be done in the office should be. As far as the fair market value, the appraiser does have to do that. And that's not something that you generally hear about or see until somebody comes off Greenbelt and there's a rollback. That market value becomes important. So
They've got to do that regardless. Every property is going to have 2 values.
Yes.
A use value and a permanent.
So probably the bulk of the work done by a Greenbelt person is the paperwork, making sure they've got those affidavits, the signed statements that when you apply the applications that have, the lien on there for the property, for the rollback and that kind of thing. And when people are not qualified, to take them off, sending notices periodically to make sure that they still qualify, and it's mostly that kind of paperwork, but there's an institutional knowledge that is gained by a person who's been doing it for some time. They know the people, they know the land, they know kind of what's going on. So my thought would be there would be a transition period for this appraiser to gradually, move that responsibility to a non-appraiser as much as possible. But there's always going to be some overlap. And this is it's real easy to put something down on a spreadsheet, but in real life, that there's kind of some overlap and that kind of thing. But the goal is to try to transition and move so that appraiser is able to do more of the other real estate appraisal work and less of the Greenbelt administration part. If that makes sense.
So I think your answer was, though, that the Greenbelt administration part does not have to be a licensed appraiser.
That's correct.
That's what I understood.
Can I ask another question on that? And can we show how the organization is going to work?
That's what I was just gonna ask. I'm kind of a visual person. I'd like to see who's where and what they're gonna do.
We've got a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and that's personal property.
FAA. Primary residential admin.
so that's one person. Is that,
Who in reality won't be able to cover all that.
right, there's going to be
Fine,
crossover, I
yes,
understand, but from an organizational standpoint, that's one person.
That's,
That's one
Okay.
FTE.
Do you have one person for that?
You couldn't possibly do all that. One person could not
So-
possibly.
He just told you that.
This is the concern I have, is if we do everything you say, and then I have responses that we don't have enough personnel, I'm right back where I'm at right now. So I want to get this very clear, how this is going to work.
We've got Kelly that's doing your primary, secondary, data collector plus helping in the DMV.
Okay, DMV's out now, let's say DMV's out, so you pick up a full person, technically, off of DMV being out, because half of Callie and half of Stephanie's supposed to be DMV, but they're gone.
She can actually qualify for primary, secondary a whole lot better in doing data collection because Ellen alone just got 70 appeals on primary, secondary. That's just Ellen. So she's got a lot on her hands just doing that, and he just told me that today.
Okay, so you don't have a person for this then?
Yes, I've got Kelly currently doing primary, secondary. I have Aubrey
No,
as,
a person for this,
No,
what tax?
but wait, what he just
it
said
could
is,
be Kelly or Stephanie, right? Those are the two non-appraisers. It could be either one of
Correct.
those,
yeah.
Okay.
or a little bit of both.
So they make up one FTE, those two.
They make up, the other portion of that is data collector, and that's kind of been what Kelly's been called,
Okay.
that
So right
jack
now,
of all trades.
if we do this, we have a person for this position and a person for this position. Understanding there's
Right.
a little crossover and mixing and matching, but essentially that is covered by current employees.
And those are your two non-appraisers.
That's my
Correct.
understanding.
Correct. Yeah.
So now we go to the appraisers.
Now appraisers, we have 6.
You're under the proposal, right?
If we hire
The
one.
recommendation, yeah.
Currently we have 5. Well, we currently have her. And then we have,
plus her.
we have the elected assessor,
Uh-huh. Who also appraises some.
who also does some appraisal.
We currently have 5 plus you.
Yes, but we only have had 4 doing most of the work. So we have 5 of these, so we hire one person, one certified appraiser here, and then we're fully staffed for now, according to the tax commission's recommendation. That's what I want to have, to know if that's where we're all on the same page. But are we there?
Because if we do, if we do
So
what
we
he's
hire
recommending.
one, and this includes getting rid of the B&B, I understand that. The responsibilities of the B&B is up to your client.
so Mike, is your concern that we do all this and then 6 to 12 months later, we're right back where we are and we need to hire more personnel because what reason?
Well, here's one concern. If I put a wall up down there to divide the D&B up and hire one additional appraiser and move Stephanie out, her desk is by the D&B, where do they go?
Okay,
Is there room?
why are you moving Stephanie?
Isn't she out with the DMV now?
No, she's
Is
back.
she back?
His personal property.
Okay,
Full-time?
okay, then that's not an issue. Do we have room for another appraiser?
Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Real.
So does that mean
That
then,
was my other concern.
if,
Our building is, unless we build a new building, I'm out of space.
Did you just ask for a new building?
Nope.
so then, so now draw a line down below there. And who do we have or where are we at to put the 2.5 in DMV that's recommended? 2 full-time and then a half one.
We would have to hire an additional person.
Because one of those people that are 50/50 would be the one DMV person.
Her staff has been covering the other position,
Correct.
whether it's those people or whoever, they've been
So we'd
covering.
have to hire one additional DMV also, plus the 0.5 for seasonal, somebody to cover for vacation time, whatever. We talked about that the other day. Needs to. Yeah, with that tire one.
Okay.
Could actually, would it be two?
Yeah, it's just, he's showing what would need to be hired. One
Oh,
additional.
One and a half.
So you don't currently already have two?
We have two right now.
Okay.
So we're going to have to hire the half.
We do have two in DMV now.
Seasonal people occasionally?
We have two full-time.
Not the ones that, okay. So we wouldn't have to have another, maybe have to see.
Are we all on the same page? That's all I'm asking. I just want to be on the same page.
But Mike, it seems to me, well, everyone, it seems to me that we have to remove B and B physically, screen the wall and the door thing. I can't imagine that building.
Well, the wall could be done in a week, right? I mean, that's how long would it take to?
No, I think the statement was the wall won't work.
I don't know. I've been in there a lot. I don't see how that works.
With a
but-
separate entrance, I think it works. Guess that's possible. But now he's suggesting.
Let's knock out this wall back here to combine these two rooms together. Right there, we don't need those rooms back there.
I would just suggest we look hard at a place to move to.
Are you gonna do that?
See if that.
Are you gonna get people in
I think you would be facetious.
that elevator does not work,
That's a good point.
and your elderly people don't.
The location of the DMV there seems to be, it's a better location for people to come here. It's just inside the building. So, yes.
It's a habit.
Mr. Chairman, I was just thinking, as all this is going on, has anybody thought about, rather than rebuilding walls inside of a fixed building that's all cement and difficult to work with, getting one of those temporary things like they do for the school district, put it out there on that open green area that's there and get it away from this building so that the people coming to the DMV can go to it, and have it fixed up so that you got an entrance in and an exit coming out, and then a porch out on the front of it that allows it to be covered under inclement weather, and that way the traffic that's associated with the DMV versus the assessor's office is removed from the building. And it would seem like that'd be a lot cheaper than remodeling this place and/or considering I think it'd be better if the state would accept it back down in the driver's license division and do it all there, so there's not a separation of driver's license and registration. But $6,000 a month to be in the same building with the driver's license sounds ludicrous to me, because you could probably buy a trailer thing for 20 grand and you'd be paid for in 3 months. And
Mike, do you think a trailer out here, as you said, is that logistically possible, people get in and out and all that? Or do you need to think through that?
I don't know.
I mean,
So
I
it's a
think that's an
possibility.
idea worth pursuing.
I mean, the school district does it.
They might have some trailers they want to get rid of now.
I say that, they might have a few trailers.
But generally, our buildings, we're required to have all ADA compliant, so we have to have restrooms and other things. I don't know how the school gets around that, but
That'd all have to be looked
it's
at.
something.
So it's a possibility, it's something like that. I had a question on Greenbelt, but this is for Buck. Buck, I want to say it was 1 year ago, but it may have been 2 years ago, that you presented to the county councils when we were having trouble with the computers. The computer software wasn't updated, or whatever the issue was, I can't remember it now. But you mentioned something about Greenbelt data had been deleted. What were you talking about?
Well, it was a number of years back. I was not the assessor. It was three assessors ago, where somebody who had, and I'm not clear on who it was, but somebody had come into our office and required that Greenbelt information be destroyed. And
Is that normal? I mean, does that happen every so many years? You clear out your
it's
data?
not something the current assessor at that time would have agreed to.
Has that information all been restored and put back in?
No, can't get rid of that information that was in those files. there is, they have to record greenbelt documents with the recorder's office, and you've got that information. But like, for instance, this week, we had the Aubrey, our greenbelt specialist, has been sending out mail on a greenbelt to a greenbelt payer, a tax person, who for 2 years now refuses to pay for the greenbelt or answer her. Well, the mail that she received back, the check was dated back here, but it was mailed here. That kind of information is so important. The signatures and the landowners, all that kind of information would have been
Right,
removed.
that
She
seems to
has
me,
that.
that seems to me just like the function of the office. You do those things if they involve legal because of what people
Well,
do.
apparently it was critical at the time that it was destroyed.
Yeah.
From nobody in our office who was given that permission. I remember it at the time that it was discussed openly. I remember days later when it was again discussed that it was done, but it wasn't done on county time, work time. So for me, when we're discussing the greenbelt person being over greenbelt, I want a qualified person who knows procedure. I don't want that happening again.
Well, but you said you got that person in place, they're doing it right,
They're doing a great job.
so that's covered.
So you say it was destroyed. It wasn't by somebody in the assessor's office. You don't know who it was.
I don't know who asked for it to be done, but the person who did it was working in our office and then left our office and does not work for the assessor's office anymore. But it happened, and that kind of stuff, it's like, if it's a function of my office and that kind of information is in my office, shouldn't I, as the assessor, have control over that, not somebody else coming in and doing that, especially not on county time, but being asked to do that? I don't want that happening on my watch.
Well, that's a matter of, I guess,
That don't make
administration.
sense, but why somebody come in and do that?
I
mean,
agree. I agree.
That don't
And there's
sound-
lots of witnesses to it.
It don't sound right.
It doesn't.
Okay, I'll just ask you. Do you know who did it?
Yes.
Who did it?
Or does it need to refer to the attorney? If there's criminal, if it was done criminally, then it ought to be
We can talk about
referred.
this in closed session.
Perhaps.
Yeah, we should, if it needs to be
Is that close
discussed.
session?
I'm not sure it's relevant to today's discussion.
Well, what she's describing is she's saying because that historical data is not there, it's creating problems for us today.
That's why I asked the questions that have been put back in, and she said the files are there.
New files are.
Aren't the, well, not in the computer, but isn't the documentation they had to turn in to be qualified on Greenbelt there?
You've got some records inside the recorder's office, but you are missing information that was in those files at the time that, for various reasons, could be pertinent to those owners, to new owners who had purchased that land since then.
Well, I guess I
Pertinent
think,
information.
going forward then, if there's an error there and something that needs to be corrected, if there's criminal grounds, that ought to be pursued. But just from this point, you gotta go forward and restore that data as much as you can and move forward
And
with it.
she's doing a great job of qualifying that moving forward.
Excellent. Well, yeah. Mike, at what point, if we're gonna do, we've talked about the DMV and we can look at that, some costs there. What do we need to do on changing administrator or whoever's over that?
That's your decision. I think the state code addresses that to a degree, doesn't it, Scott?
I would have to look, I don't.
I know in the recommendation here, it suggested, it was mentioned that in some counties, because of the money collection function, which seems better fits with the treasurer's office, that's, I guess, the recommendation we're making. As Carl's here, we can ask his opinion of taking that on as a director of those 2.5 DMV people. Basically, the supervision of those people would be under your office is what the suggestion has been.
I'm not inclined to accept that, but, you know, because I think shuffling from one office to another is not really answering the problem.
Well, I don't think they're shuffling. I think they're going to be basically doing the DMV work. They're not going to be in your office and back. Wherever that office ends up being, it's just you're the administrator or the over. They're your employees instead of us employees. They would do their duties as DMV under the direction of your office versus, I guess, money collected goes through your office anyway, correct?
It does.
So that part.
So does the unattached personal property.
The what?
So does the personal property go through my office.
Yeah, any money collected.
So it's, I mean, that's not much different than the DMV, so. Other than it's not the state that's assessing the values.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. When I was approached on this before, I was kind of reluctant about it, but maybe with further discussion, we could talk about it some more. But I don't see the sense in it myself,
Well, I think, yeah.
because the administration of it's not that much. So. Not the DMV.
I assume you've already talked to other auditors and treasurers and about those kinds of things and kind of know their feeling about it.
It's kind of been the assessor's responsibility from the get-go.
Yeah, traditionally, I think that's the way it always been. That's kind of the way it was. That it might be helpful if you think there might be any advantage to considering it all. Maybe talk to some of those counties that do divide it out that way and ask them, is it an advantage in some way or is it not? I mean,
Do they see it working better because it's that way, or?
yeah. I mean, it might not be any advantage whatsoever, but it might be a good idea just to reach out to some of
We
those
maybe don't
counties.
need to make that decision today.
Yeah.
Council, what's your brother's?
Greg,
Yes.
if we made these recommendations, would that take care of the tax commission concerns?
You know, I think it would. I think it would give them a hand up on some of the issues they've had in getting behind. And we have a concern that you're going to lose some appraisers in the not too distant future. And we hope that relieving some of the pressure that they've been under and feeling burned out and that kind of thing will help a great deal. We also think that as you look ahead, that you'll kind of keep that in mind, that you're going to be hiring more appraisers as people retire in the next, I don't know how many years. The next 6 years are probably going to have people retiring, I'm going to guess.